Hey Skyfarers, and welcome to Aethercast, the Kharadron Overlords podcast and YouTube channel, where today we need to be very, very quiet because there's a sleeping baby right there. But other than that, we're going to be very excited because there's lots of new stuff. So yeah, White Dwarf update. Finally, we have leaks and stuff, and we're going to talk about it. To help me talk about it, we are, of course, joined by our avatar, Arkanaut Admiral, and new dad, Max Bowman. To our Max.
Hello everyone.
And special guest, a beardling.
Yes, hello.
I mean, that's got to be worse than Mike, surely.
Who's the hand?
I should have called you a rune father, obviously.
Obviously.
So I didn't think of that. We have our interim master, treat surgeon of the Garden of Nurgle, Matt. Welcome to the show. Good to have you back.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me back, Lee. He's always excited to be here.
Always good to have you. And we have Krondspine Incarnate, Alexander Kron.
That's a new name.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah.
It's almost too perfect.
Yes. We have to talk about you as well because you're a new thing, Kron.
It's gonna be great. Coming at you live from the Skyfleet.
Yes. Yes, we have new toys we've been playing with. We've got backgrounds.
Yeah.
I'm currently flying high above my my native state.
Kron, are you going to get a Krondspine Incarnate?
Oh, I'll get something like it, sure.
You have to. It's got your name in it.
Are you gonna stick your face on it? Like
Yes, you could.
photograph?
You could 3D print your face.
Oh no!
If you don't,
fund that on
if you
Kickstarter.
don't, I will, and I'll put your face on mine, and then go around the tournaments with it.
Oh no! Yeah, all right. I mean, I was thinking of doing something KO themed, but sure, that works.
Yeah.
Are we going to take a minute to think to ponder some potential KO Kit Bash proxies count as for that?
I mean, I'm sure I can find something in the new KO 40k range that's coming out. That's more news.
Yeah. So, quick reminder: Aethercast starts on pre-order. If you want to get some, link in the description. Let's skip past that.
Oh,
Squats.
the dice are so sexy.
Yes.
Oh my god, I can't believe
Yes!
they actually did it. They actually, you crazy SOB, you actually did it!
How do you
I don't know.
guys feel
His
about it?
ankle looks very thin in that image.
It's a robot ankle.
Does.
Is it?
Yeah.
It looks like a robot foot.
It's got like a
What are
bionic
those
foot.
feet? What are those shoes with the toe inserts? You know that people wear, like runners will wear them. They're like gloves, but for your feet. That's what he looks like he's wearing.
Yeah.
One of those
kinda.
weird socks, yeah, those weird toe socks.
Shoes.
No, they're cool. Plenty of.
Yeah.
If you want to go more futuristic than steampunk,
Yeah. I mean, they have
and
to do something
I
quite
bet we'll
different
see
to KO.
complete KO. Depends on what kind of ships they get, or like
Mhm.
spacecraft or tanks or whatever. I bet we'll see a lot of squat, or what they call Legion of Votan KO
Leagues.
armies.
Yeah. I saw somebody Photoshop like a dome style helmet over the head, sort of like those Mechanicus. I don't play 40k, so I have a massive fork army. But
Astronaut.
yeah, they have the dome helmet. That looked really cool. You know,
But
that
like-
would be more fantasy.
Deep sea diver kind of,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
like a bell
I
helmet.
bet
Yeah.
they're gonna have characters, captains, and stuff that you can convert into to be admirals or chemists or admirals, because you're gonna convert some admirals now.
Yeah, and the whole lot of special weapons they might have for your thunderers, you know.
This mini here's got a very Thring-like color scheme, except for the undersuit color. But he's got the white armor going and the black guns and everything.
Well, it's funny because I might have to dip into 40k if the rest of the range looks cool, and I was thinking about orange, and I was like, oh, it's just Barrett Fring, but
That's cool.
I mean,
it's
honestly, you could speed paint that so quickly with apothecary white contrast paint is like just like so good, and it would work really well if you wanted to like speed paint an army.
they're cool, and they're going to be cool for kit bashing and stuff. I don't know if you guys saw the video with the silhouettes where you don't really get to see them for very long, but there's a guy with a pickaxe.
Yes,
looks
like a
there's a guy
pickaxe
with a hammer.
attached to his backpack. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Kharadron,
yeah,
Space Lords, Space Adron.
space adrenaline.
Space swords. Yeah.
Right, let's move on because we've got
Hey,
lots of stuff to talk about. People want to hear about new stuff.
Yeah.
Incarnates, they're a thing,
Mhm.
apparently. A thing we didn't need, probably.
I agree.
maybe.
It's another set of rules on top of the battle scrolls we're getting, with extra rules on top of endless spells, invocations, battle plans you need to keep in mind, and now another thing that you need to learn.
Yeah.
I assume if they're going to be doing this, this is the incarnate for Gur, and if we ever leave Gur and go to another realm, I assume they're going to have another incarnate model for that realm, but I can't imagine them having 2, 3, 4, whatever for each realm. So, I mean, this seems like a one-off to me, but we're so close to another General's Handbook, presumably, that I assume, just like I think a lot of people did, that we'd be going to another realm. And so it seems a little weird. Maybe it's a supply chain issue and a release date thing, but 4 or 5 months with this, and then what? It changes, or we don't? We spend another year in Gur, so it raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, we thought we were going to what's it called, Olgu,
Shaman?
because
Oh,
the
Olgu. Yeah, that's right. Olgu.
Olgu, because of the Underworld's setting, is there now. After Beastgrave, they went to Shadowlands under the sea, someplace. So we all thought, oh, it's Shadowland, and then we'll have Malekith and Malarion and his Shadow Elves and stuff like that. Umbraneth. But as you say, everything might be like pushed back because of everything that's happening in the world.
I hope we don't.
And they might say, okay, well, just stay in Gur another round.
No.
I'm not sure if this is an incarnate from Gur or if it's just from Thondia or whatever it's called. Like the special.
Thondia is in Gur. Thondia is like a settlement.
Yeah, I know it isn't, but it's just like a one country in Gur or one area.
Didn't they
So
reveal
this
like
might
the battle
the
zone?
Thondian one.
Thondia?
Yeah, there's a whole. It's like a kit with
Yeah.
terrain and stuff, and I think there's going to be some rules. I mean,
Is
we're working on leaks, so.
If I may be so brash, I will say probably maybe a tad expensive for me for a terrain box and an endless spell, essentially.
It is. It's another Shrine Luminar for elves. Basically a floating thing with waterfall. The terrain is nice, but it's not very practical for AOS, in my opinion, because it doesn't have bases. It's not no cover. It's just walls. To be honest, this thing looks like a set of, do you have the Citadel Skulls box that you can buy? This is that and some chewing gum or melted cheese. You can make this yourself, no problem.
American cheese, right?
Yeah, this is like some weird artificial yellow cube
I think we
cheese.
had this conversation on a group chat with Cheese Whiz. It looks like a can of Cheese Whiz.
Yeah. Well, it's meant to be amber, but amber should be sort of transparent, so it doesn't have the same sort of feel.
This will look
red.
great if you paint it like greenish, ghostly kind of thing.
will-
You could use this as a mount for your Soulblight Mortar, because they have a similar mount, like a skull.
I will say I just
floating
thought
thing.
of possibly using because I see the helix shape of this thing. I wonder how big the base is. Is maybe some of the Necron? Man, what are those guys? The Wraiths, I think they're called. Yeah. I think maybe you could work with something like that on a KO themed one. In our army, it does add a little bit of melee rend and high damage that we seem to lack.
Yeah.
Although I hate to see it charge your own Warp Lightning Vortex and eat it, but then it goes up a level. So I mean, there's that.
Yeah, you could feed
it might go
feed
down a
it
level.
spell.
But you could maybe use if the base size is the same as the Celestian Prime, you could just use.
No,
the
if
Celestian
you look
Prime.
at the terrain box, this looks much bigger. This looks
Actually,
large.
yeah.
It's a
It
big
looks like
piece.
it's on a
This one.
Terrorgeist kind of base.
Yeah, it's 130 minimum.
Wow,
But
mate. It's big.
The
It's a tall piece. That thing.
the Warp Lightning Vortex might actually be a good way to kill the thing, because it only rolls 2d6 and adds its level to dispel, right? Warp Lightning Vortex
You roll 3d6, and if you roll under the wounds that has been allocated, then it leaves.
Con was talking about when you eat a spell.
To unbind an endless spell.
Let's track back a minute, explain how incarnates work, and then I've got another screen that has everything about this particular one, because it does kind of seem like they're setting up for more than one of these things. Like they've done a whole load of
malign sorcery all over again.
Yeah. So the units without a wounds characteristic. So you can allocate wounds to them, but then the wounds don't go down because they don't have a characteristic. They take up your ally slot, but you can have them regardless of how many points they are. It just sits to stop you having them and allies. And they have to be bonded to a hero, so one particular hero can't have more than one and stuff, so you can't just fill your list with these and like one hero. If your hero is slain that it's bonded to, it becomes wild, and then when it's wild, it's an enemy model to everyone on the table, which is interesting because then, depending on the incarnate that it is, which we only have one at the moment, then it has to charge if it's in range of stuff. So if it's near your stuff, and then it becomes wild, then it's come and attack you. They have 4 different power levels, although they start from 0, which is weird. They don't go 1 to 4; they go from 0. And if it reaches the power level 0, then it gets removed from play. And the way it goes up and down power levels, the way they go down is consistent across all incarnates, which is if you allocate enough wounds to them in battle shock, you roll 3d6, and then if it's equal to or less than their number of wounds allocated to it, then it goes down a level. And because they start on 2, it means it takes at least 2 turns to get rid of it. Cool?
And when it's gone, it's not coming back.
Yeah, when it's gone, it's gone.
Yes, so you're gonna have to bring it down a level. You need to find a way to do an average of 10 wounds to the thing a turn.
Yeah.
This is tougher than, this is bigger than Morothy. This is like.
But does it have a save, or what?
It's a 4+ save.
4+ save.
4+. Okay.
But then they could do other ones that have like a 3+, so you never know. So this particular incarnate does a whole load of different stuff. If you issue it in all-out attack, then everything in its range of its buff, it has like this thing where it's dominating stuff because it's like a dominatrix or something, which starts at 8 inches but can go up to 12. I think it can be 10 inches, depending on what level it's on. But basically, if you're in Holub in 12, 8 or 10 inches, depending on the level, then if you put all-out attack on it, then everything in range gets all-out attack.
Mm-hmm.
So you put all-out attack on it, and then you're ironclad, and all the units inside the ironclad, and all the heroes get all-out attack.
Not bad.
Okay.
But you have to be within 3 inches of enemy units to get that. It's not just melee weapons, so it would still work on shooting, but it's kind of mostly above to melee. It gives +1 to casting, spelling, and unbinding to the bonded hero if it's a wizard, which is not really going to make a difference to KO. It can do monstrous rampages, which is something Kron was mentioning earlier. So if it's within 3 inches of an endless spell cast by an enemy wizard, so it won't do it to your Warp Lightning Vortex because that won't have been cast by an enemy wizard. Unless it's wild, in which case it would, because then but then that spell in the bottle, you're still not a wizard, so that'd be fine. But you roll 2d6. Oh, there's a baby awake. You roll 2d6, you add on the level of the incarnate, which it starts on a 2, so 2d6 plus 2, and then it starts on 2, and if it's greater than the casting value, it's dispelled. So it's actually not that easy to remove Warp Lightning Vortex of this.
So it's almost a play to cast a Warp Lightning Vortex against an enemy version of this thing, and then to basically bait it into trying to unbind it. It fails, and then loses a level without you having to do 10 more wounds, 10 wounds to the thing.
Yeah, because if it eats the spell, it goes up a level, but if it fails, then it goes down a level because it chokes its food or something. I don't think. What else does it do? Friendly enemy units, whole within range, can re-roll run and charge rolls, which is pretty tasty. And they also can't retreat, and wizards that aren't bonded to it are -1 to cast and dispelling and not bonding. It's like an anti-magic thing.
This just dawned on me regarding the Krondspine, and I just checked the core rules to confirm. So, interesting that you could potentially use spell in the bottle and set up an endless spell, and then have this thing charge your own endless spell. And then, since the endless spells are not considered a unit, you can pile in away from it toward the closest enemy unit. So you could essentially use this thing, or use your own endless spell to do damage, and then slingshot it toward the enemy, and then pile into something, because you can't pile in towards an endless spell. It's not a unit. So that might be kind of fun.
Sounds good, but it does say within 12 inches of an endless spell cast by an enemy wizard. Oh.
Matt liked your response to that so much. He left.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah, but it can charge endless spells, which is really interesting. It's like this new thing too. That's a new thing in the game,
which tells us that endless spells are going to stick around.
Yeah, probably.
But this thing is 400 points.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think we'll see some armies that might get a use out of it. Some weird combos.
Well, it's a big scary monster. If your army doesn't have a big scary monster and you can't ally in dragons, then
yeah,
I think so. People have been talking about. So like the big weakness is the hero who has it dies, and then it starts killing your own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if Nighthaunt, say, allied it to a hero who was off the board, and they just kept him off the board for like the majority of the game, then you can't kill the hero, and the thing just does what it wants, does what you want it to do.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What about if you bind it to Marathi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she dies turn 2 anyway.
You know, interesting when it comes to KO, because if the enemy army has this in their army, and then you go first, and you just, with all our range damage, you blast the hero off the board if you can, then it just starts going wild on their own army because it has to charge something within 12.
Yeah.
And so that would be really fun.
This is the other thing as well, is when it's wild, it can run and charge, and it re-rolls charges as well, and then it has to charge.
It must charge. So if you can shoot off a 5 wound, say they attach to a war chanter or something, and you hit them with a sky cannon, blast them off the board, and then that thing just starts going wild on their lines from turn 1. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Is there a limitation to what kind of hero you can bind it to?
No.
Just an enhancement.
Okay, so you're just gonna bind it to your Frostlord on
or your Archaon.
Stonehorn.
No, it's an enhancement, so you can't give it to Archaon.
Ah.
Yeah.
You can't give it
No,
to
but you give it to a
Tomorrow's
Frostlord on Stonehorn that has like a 2-up save and 5-up ward, and it's just gonna stick around.
Or just a hero who stays off the board.
Like you have a hero that's very tanky. You give it to, I don't know, some Vingorian Lord or
because there's a number of
something.
different interactions that me and my group have found that don't mess with.
It's a weird thing, and there's gonna be some cheeky little trick you can pull, and it's gonna skew. And there's gonna be a list that's gonna dominate with it for 2 months, and then
Possibly. I wonder if some of this is a little bit of a test for updating the rules for endless spells at some point as well, like trying out different ways for them to be wild and stuff, like testing out different
might
things.
be because honestly, I never came across an wild endless spell yet in 3rd edition.
Mm-hmm.
Well, endless spells just aren't really that prevalent right now in 3rd edition because they drastically reduced a lot of their power. I mean, even in Nurgle armies where they you can have them, all the endless spells give off disease. You rarely see that. I know recently Emma went at Adepticon, was honing in on that strategy, but that's an outlier at least. And even in that army, you don't see people running endless spells.
KO pretty much the only one who do it. And even we just use Warp Lightning Vortex. That doesn't go wild.
I mean,
except for the new plays I'm trying with Geminids. Let's see how that works.
Geminids is really good. Not as OP as it used to be, but it's really good.
I'm hoping it just shuts down that all-out defense.
Yep.
So maybe
it's de facto +1 rend in the shooting phase for KO.
No, the only other endless spell I see people doing is the healing one.
Oh, the Life Swarm?
Yeah. But yeah, should we talk about KO stuff? Because
I think +1 rend, that sounds like a really good. If only there was some way. Some way we could give that to our army. Oh my god, it's +1 rend!
Okay.
Oh, I love it.
Before we talk about stuff, I want to just put a disclaimer out here. This is all based on leaks, which have been translated from German. Luckily, we have a tame German. You can't see my hand pointing. But even with the best translator in the world, we know that sometimes the Games Workshop don't use the best translators in the world, and there are errors in the foreign language versions of things sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
So
German rule texts have been notorious to be just different. Like the rule is different in German.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the Cities of Sigmar Battle Tome had warscroll that had different rules than the English one. And sometimes they're just wrong. But I more or less word by word I translated this. And
I love the translation for like grand strategies was like tactical opportunities or something like that. It was quite fun.
That was the Google Translate.
Google Translate.
It was quite fun.
Okay, so we've got some very quick overviews of what's happened to the Admiral here, and we're going to go into it in more detail.
More like the Chadmiral, am I right?
Finally, such a gorgeous model.
+1 damage on both his melee profile and his shooting. Nice little buff. His reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 against enemy heroes and monsters got changed to +1 to hit.
Yeah, that's something we've seen now plenty of times. That reroll of 1s just come a +1.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a shame because obviously previously if you did have him, you could have stacked that with all-out attack, and now you can't. So
very good. Yeah, it was very good.
He lost his battle shock immunity bubble, which
finally means that Barak command trait does something.
Yeah, it does something. Yeah. And to be honest, I'm not that bothered about that because we have lots of ways to get battle shock immunity. So.
Plus the 12-inch bubble, like the 18-inch from the big battalion.
That was
good. Yeah, that was good.
Back when we had that. His bodyguard is now a 3+. We'll go into that in more detail in a minute, but that's really good. He still has the run and shoot command ability. That hasn't changed at all, which is a shame because you activate that in the shooting phase. So you can't run and shoot and do all-out attack as well. Like if you did it in the movement phase, it'd be so much better. And then all his other command abilities that he used to have been replaced with Aether-powered projectiles, which are special
which is a translation. I don't know if that is the English name.
They're going to be
something with ammunition or something.
Yeah. Basically, he's got special bullets.
Aether munition.
Yeah. If you've basically, they were watching Hawkeye series where they had all the different arrows, and they're like, "Let's do this."
They're like, "Oh, cool! Control C, Control V."
Yeah.
What is interesting that this follows in line of what we see now with small heroes in Idonef and Fire Slayers, that they have an ability that's not a command ability. It's another thing that they can do on top. For example, the Flamekeeper, he can just do his runic fire, whatever stuff, but it just happens on top of command abilities, on top of the allegiance ability, which is a rune, on top of there's several layers now. And here you can do triumphs with gold, you can do all-out attack with command points, and this what he can do on top.
And a lot of things with choices for heroes now,
which I love. Yeah,
that's cool. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about how his bodyguards changed. So, because this is a new type of bodyguard rule. We already had more than one type, which was annoying. Now we have another one. So it's before allocating a wound or mortal wound. That's good because it's wounds and mortal wounds to the unit, or instead of rolling a ward save.
Yeah, so they're making it clear that basically a bodyguard save is a ward save.
Yeah, so you can't do this as well as a ward save on him. Again, for wound or mortal wound, you can roll a dice if he's within 3 inches of at least one friendly Skyfarer's unit. And on a 1 to 2, it gets allocated to him as normal. And on a 3+, you can allocate that wound or mortal wound to a friendly Skyfarer unit within 3 inches instead. Which is kind of interesting because it means you can roll the dice, then decide which unit you want to allocate it to.
Yes. You need to have someone near, which means a friendly Skyfarer unit. That can be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have, I have a navigator nearby. I'll roll it. Okay. Now I'll give it to the Endrin Riggers outside of the boat if they're whipping free.
Yeah. You could give it to a hero, and then that hero could
depending how many moons go through, and then you can decide who to give it to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you can give it to multiple units. Like, I'll give these 2 to that unit and these 2 to the other unit.
Could you give it to an admiral who then gives it to someone else?
No, because the wound has already been negated by this bodyguard rule. It cannot be negated again by the next bodyguard.
And I think there is also a sentence at the end of that to say that you can't do it. You can't negate wounds that are allocated in this way as well.
Still, an admiral with a 3-up ward save, if he's got a big enough unit of Arkanauts near him, it's going to be a really tough admiral.
Yeah, I mean he's got 3+ save normally, so it's 3+3+. That's like better than Gotrek. Yeah, I mean obviously you're not halving damage, but I mean Gotrek's 3-up. So
yes, the rule says if you allocate the wounds to a unit through this bodyguard save, that cannot then be negated.
Yeah.
So what they mean basically is that unit cannot benefit from a ward save themselves.
Yeah.
Because we've seen this, but it's also explicitly said in Fire Slayers, the royal retinue, if the Runefather shrugs wounds to his Hearthguard, they explicitly still get to roll their ward save.
Bellacore gets to do the same thing. He can pass it off to plate bearers and they get their ward save.
Yes, but for him it's because it's the wording is a bit weird.
Exactly.
It's the old wording. Yeah,
but it seems like they're clamping down on it though. So obviously
now they're specifically saying yes or no.
Yeah. Which is good. This is a nice, this is a long, wordy rule, but it's
it is a long,
but
still. It's just one warscroll. It's 1 page. It used to be a much longer one with 5 command abilities.
Yeah, it's good that they are making these nice and clear now.
Yes, absolutely.
So I mean, this is basically a buff.
Yes. Absolutely.
Extra damage, extra toughness. Like the admiral can actually go head to head with some of some medium kind of heroes now.
Yeah, don't forget he's now got 3 damage on his melee weapon as well.
He's got what, 3 attacks?
Yes.
3 attacks.
So
4 maybe.
9 damage. If in Barrack Thring, I think you can bump that up to 15 possible damage.
Give him Arcane Tome and Flaming Weapon.
Grudge Bearer.
Yeah, or a Grudge Bearer trait.
Yeah, Grudge Bearer.
So that's 6 damage.
he's
18 damage.
Yeah, he's a Maw Crusher now.
Or a Barrack Zon, give him an extra attack. Yeah.
So also a question from the chat as well. Yes, you can get your normal armor save before doing this.
And that's
if it's a wound, obviously not if it's a mortal wound.
He's a 6 wound 3-up save hero. Now he's gonna be in the ship most of the time, so a 2-up save or 3-up +1.
-1 to hit as well.
-1 to hit, and you can easily all-out defense him. So he's on a 3-up with ignoring 2 rend, -1 to be hit, -2, so negating a +1 to hit because of Lookout Sir, because someone's near him for the 4th save. If it's a unit with 3 models.
Shot. I don't know if he's getting shot.
Yeah, if he's getting shot, yeah. Well, mostly. If they're in melee with your boat already, then it's I don't know. Did something wrong again. So he is tanky. I like it. Like free up
Yeah.
wards. I've been testing Fire's list. Free up wards, free up bodyguards are very good. It makes stuff very hard to kill.
The Admiral has a 3-up armor, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Base.
Yeah, very tanky.
Yes. 6 wounds, so that's good. Yeah.
Before we move on to the new cool bullets, how do you feel about the stuff that's gone missing? So, like reroll ones to hit for the ships.
Can't even remember what all these command abilities did.
There was a charge one that didn't matter.
Did he lose the ability to give everything in the ship +1 to hit?
Yes.
I like that.
Repel.
I like that one.
So the big melee boat is gone now.
The hammer boat.
Yeah.
The Admiral and his 5 Endron Master friends.
Especially now, because you start thinking with some of these other rules, like, oh, what if I take 2 admirals, 3 admirals, and anything? Or what if I put them all in the same boat and then charge in with the battle ram and you think, oh yeah, and then he can use his. Oh no, he doesn't have that ability anymore.
Yeah,
but no, he's now much more of a buff piece, which I love because in the book. In the book we have lack of synergy. Like yes, the chemist can do something for you, and basically that's it.
Yeah.
And so now we have someone who can do something for your army, which is a good step in the right direction.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about these bullets then. So the way it works is he's got 3 different ones of these things, and after you've received your initial command points at the beginning of the game, but before the first turn starts, you have to choose which one you're going to use for that battle. And then, once you've chosen, that's it. So you've got 3 abilities, but you can only use 1, and they're all once per game abilities. That's simple. First one, maybe we're not sure about the translations of the names here, but it's Firebeard and Sons Dragon Capturing Magnet Bollers.
Sounds legit to me.
Firebeard and Sun sounds legit, definitely. So this one is, they're all start of the shooting phase actually. You pick an enemy monster unit within 12 inches and you roll a dice. And it's on a 2+, they're all on a 2+. That unit is basically tied up and messed up there, isn't it? One with a bold. There's a mistake. Well, anyway. Basically, that monster then is 1d6 charges instead of 2d6 charges.
Yes, and this is very interesting because it specifically says roll 1d6 instead of 2d6.
Yes.
So what happens to units that can roll 3d6? Unclear.
Like Psychnos,
It's not.
I mean, it really should have just said reduce. The amount of dice
or
by 1%.
charges are rolled by 1d6. Full stop.
Yes,
exactly.
No matter how many you this is just changing the core mechanic, and I think Kragnos says roll 3d6 instead of 2d6. So which one is it? 1d6 or 3d6 now?
Are there any abilities that allow you to roll 3d6 and pick the 2 highest? I don't think there are. That seems like a 40k.
No, I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
That I know of.
One of the interesting things is it lasts until the end of your opponent's next turn, because you do it in your turn. And the other thing is you have to be within 12 inches of that monster. So they're very close to you anyway. Most monsters move fairly quick. So you'll do this, and then you don't get to, unless you're going to charge with your Admiral away from that thing, it's going to be 3 inches away from you the next time it charges.
Which means, let's say it's a normal monster, 2d6 charge. That thing moves within 3 inches of you. If you redeploy on a 4+, you're safe.
Yeah.
Because then you're 7 away, and it can maximum go 6. If you redeploy on the 3, you're still 90% safe or 80% safe. So that's it's still pretty good.
If these monsters fly, navigators become very important.
Yes.
If you take this in Mornar, and you have the Gale Force stave as well.
Yeah.
Well, you can
1d6 charge halved.
I mean, you can put the Admiral inside a gun holder, flying next to the monster. Put it on him. The moment he uses this projectile, he becomes less of interest to your opponent. Because now he's just a normal Admiral without the special abilities. Maybe they don't want to charge you. They wanted to charge something else. They wanted to charge the Ironclad or something. But now they're doing it with a 1d6.
I mean,
or in Mornar, they're doing it on a 1d6. Half that one.
If only that Cursed City model it actually wasn't a 4+ to make them charge him because he was he's skewered or speared or whatever. You could make him charge 1d6 and have to go toward toward him.
Yeah. Well, now we finally have a use for Dark Knight because I need a second.
Yeah.
Cool.
With 1d6 charge, just a redeploy will pretty much stop, should stop them charging, completely. Because they're 3 inches out. Even if you roll a 2+, now you have to roll a 5+ on a d6 to get in.
How about Shards of Valagar in a bottle? Half move, then 1d6 charge.
My issue with this is that the monster is probably not sitting there all on its own. So if you're within 12 inches of that monster, you're probably fairly close to other stuff in your opponent's army, which will charge you.
Which is interesting because you can shoot the other stuff around the monster and still be safe from the monster.
Yeah.
From retaliation.
Yeah. So this is like a 2+, turn the monster off, and then deal with everything around it. The next turn, you can shoot the monster all on its own, or just teleport off and do something else.
Redeploy is going to be your biggest defense against the close proximity of the ability, though. I agree. Don't roll a 1. It's just a key to winning Warhammer in general, so just apply that here.
I mean, even if you roll a 3, then they still need to make a 6 with a 1d6, so that's not easy.
There's going to be some really feel bad moments when you have one of these ether-powered projectiles and you roll that 1, and it's like, wow.
Because you would have already flown high to 12 inches away from the monster, and then you roll a 1 and you don't get to use your special weapon.
I really, Kron, you hit on a point that was one of my biggest points of contention with these Aether-powered projectiles. I love the idea. We're going to get into more of them, I know, but it's that dice roll. It's that 2-up, man. I don't understand the point of it. What does his pistol jam, or did he not load the bullets the right way, or I don't know. I just why go through the 16% chance of failing?
They're meant to be experimental munitions. Is the reason, part of the reason, I think, but. I mean, on a 2+, it's just kind of like it's sort of reliable enough that you will try and bank on it, but then when it fails, it will really be annoying.
Although I think this is the less used of all the 3.
Oh yeah, this is probably the least exciting one. So let's move on.
Yes.
Where's my mouse?
The most exciting one doesn't require a 2+.
Celestian Blastro grenades. I think they might actually probably called Celestian Burst grenades. We already have them in the lore. But I don't know. We'll find out.
Could be. You're probably right.
Okay. So again, once per game, start the shooting phase. This time it's just pick any enemy unit within 12 inches, and again it's on a 2+. That enemy unit can't make ward saves for wounds or mortal wounds from attacks that target that unit until the end of that phase.
Yes. Notice mortal wounds. So what does mortal wounds in a shooting phase? Everyone's favorite phosphate bombers.
Oh,
so
yes.
The thing I especially like about these,
although that's not an attack though. Sorry, Kron, but that's not because it says against attacks that target it, so it doesn't.
Oh,
work.
you party pooper! What are you doing?
Anyway, sorry, Kron. Go ahead.
So the thing I super like about these is that you choose which one you're taking basically before turn 1 happens. You don't have to write it on your list. So you can look at your opponent's army and go, right, that's Gotrek or that's a Nurgle army. I'm
Yeah.
going to take these things because that's just going to just mess up their whole day.
Yeah,
But you
even
don't have to,
better. You choose this when you know who's going to take first turn because you already received the start of round command points.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say
It's even better.
It should just be called Celestial Anti-Nurgle Grenades.
This is so
Anti-Nurgle.
good. It's Nurgle, it's Hearthguard Berserkers, a 4-up ward.
This will.
Now they're just
Yeah.
sitting on a 5-up save.
Mm-hmm.
They're naked now. Like
Actually naked.
Phoenix Guard, Anointed on Frostheart. There's Gotrek. There's so many things that you can pick up with this.
You know what this doesn't work on though? Is other admirals. Because that's done instead of a ward. It's not actually a ward.
That's not a ward save.
Yeah. Because it passes the wound on rather than negating it. So
yeah, but you don't have to write this in your list and go like, okay, I reckon I'm going to fight Nurgle, and then never fight Nurgle and have this thing be useless.
Yeah, it's not wasted.
Be like, it's not Nurgle. I'm going to take one of the others.
Yes.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Having the flexibility. That's so good. You could, and another thing we didn't mention, if you take multiple admirals, as I understand the rules now, you can have the same one multiple times.
Yeah, because they're once per game,
and you can even choose them, and you can even use them twice in the same
turn, and your Aether Gold at the same time, which is why the third, because of the third one. Is why I'm thinking admirals are mandatory takes with Thunderers now.
Okay. Good segue, Kron. Let's talk about the third one then.
Speaking of, I love it. It's all I ever wanted.
So basically...
It's just one rend to my army.
Basically.
No, not the entire army, sadly.
Yes. Yeah, we need to clarify two things, because there have been some other translations going around. The previous one we're talking about is just ward saves, not all saves, as there was a translation going around that it was ward, like you just can't get to do anything. And this one is you pick one friendly Kharadron Overlords unit that is not a sky vessel.
Yes. Also, in addition to the previous one, it is all attacks against that enemy unit. So your allies benefit from this. Your coalition benefit from this if they can shoot. It's not just KO that ignore wards.
So you
Iron Drakes. I'm not sure what other shooting stuff we can get in.
Don't say Iron Drake three times, or you'll summon. Don't say Iron Drake 3 times, or you'll summon Kyle to the. You
said it twice already. You said it twice.
If you used it in Tempest Eye, then it would work for the Celestial Hurricanum shooting. Like they wouldn't get a ward save against that.
Yeah.
I can almost see the Admiral being used as like an ally by certain armies just to shut down war saves if they become too oppressive in the.
In Tempest Eye, and then you use 30 crossbowmen.
That's right. It's not tied to the allegiance ability, is it? So
no, it's on his war scroll. That's so good.
Yeah. Oh man.
But it's only good for shooting.
The bodyguard is on the war scroll. Everything is on the war scroll. Yeah. You just bring 10 Arkanauts and him into another army, and you can do stuff. You can
I just realized. Oh no,
if you get them in range.
For a minute, then I just had I had visions of Sentinels, but then I remembered that they can't allies it.
No, they can't.
But yeah, in Cities of Sigmar,
can you in that light city? Can they take KO? I'm not sure.
They can ally. Cities can ally KO, and then that certain Broken Realm city can have 1 in 4 units be Lumineth. So you could see an Admiral and 20 Sentinels.
Admiral,
guys, we could have discussed this before we went live and put it out there into the universe.
And Iron Drakes. You can put 30 Iron Drakes in there as well with a bridge.
Yeah.
A Stormcast army could take it with and just take him and a frigate. Would that fit? Yeah, and then just remove the ward save for their long strikes
against those dragon mortal wounds, those multiple D6 dragon mortal wounds that you're going to take. Well, guess what, buddy?
Yeah, the issue is his range. 12-inch on a 4-inch move, so you need the boat. The only boat you can get outside of KO that can transport him is a frigate. So you're already investing heavily for once per game thing.
375 points.
Probably so. I don't think we'll see that often.
I don't. Why did the man with the red pen have to show back up and just say, not a sky vessel. Like write that in right at the end.
Yeah,
like,
why?
Yeah.
The man with the red pen
Just
shows
give
his
an
face
extra
again.
rend to all the great polygon.
I mean,
shots.
does one extra rend on an ironclad really break the game? Does that really just change everything about the? I mean, it would be good. I just don't understand why they put these little annoying caveats at the end of all these sentences.
Because I think they were afraid that would be too strong.
Yeah, they're
it's not
afraid
just
to let us
that,
score
but it's
from
just
these
like
It's just-
we've been having lots of conversations. Everyone's having conversations about, oh, what units do you buff a bit? How are you going to use this or the other abilities? And it's like you wouldn't have that conversation. You would just be, well, okay, we'll buff the ironclad then.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be no decision with that.
It would be a problem if Thunderers were better.
Or cheaper.
Sorry, I hate to.
Just make them cheaper.
Cheaper.
With 2 rend, fantastic. Just make them cheaper.
One last thing about this, because, and this basically clarifies as well what you were saying earlier, Max, that you can take more than one admiral and use these multiple times. It says the same unit cannot be picked more than once per phase to be fit to benefit from this ability.
Yeah, this makes it clear that you can have multiple ones, and you can use it in the same phase, just not on the same unit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take 2, which I have to play around with lists to see how the points work out, but 2 admirals could be pretty good.
It's the cost of a frigate.
At the very least, this warscroll update almost makes him an auto include in every KO list going forward now.
Mm-hmm.
Like
makes him very attractive. Yes.
Buy your admirals from the game store now while they're still there.
Yeah,
before they become battlesmiths and being sold out.
I already ordered my second one yesterday.
Because you have so many choices. You have the original admiral that maybe everyone has one from some box. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have what was his name? Jacob Bugmanson.
Yeah,
you can use him as an admiral. He looks fantastic. And you can use Dagnai Holmstock from Cursed City. He is an admiral. He's an impoverished one, but he is an admiral, and he has a cool gun. So that he's already swinging that big projectile weapon. It's on the model. It's already there. So that was the thing I was most happy about. That I get to use Dagnai now. I get to paint him and use him in games. Because Bookman is already my second navigator. So you get 2 navigators, 2 admirals, and probably a chemist.
I really wish Dagnai had a little. I mean, there might even be some play with that.
But he doesn't have points, so.
He lost his points.
He lost his points
in the last GHB. They kicked out all the Cursed City heroes. They might return because they're relaunching the box, but
they remembered it existed again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So a couple of things from the chat. Joshua Clark pointed out, an obvious good combination is if you have 2 admirals and you remove the ward save and give a unit +1.
Absolutely. If you need something dead,
really good.
You can do it.
What else is going on in the chat? Some people are a little bit disappointed about losing the command abilities that the admiral had.
Ren 3 Skyhawks.
Ren 4 Skyhawks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. All right, I may need my KO back, Kyle.
This is Fire Sails all over again. Ren 4 broadaxes.
Yeah, and there's some love for Barrett Nar now from people in the chat as well for the idea of units of 15 Thunderers.
So 15 Thunderers backed up by an Admiral. That is 32 Ren 2 shots at 18 inches.
Mm-hmm.
The Barrett Nar meta is real again.
Is there anything that prevents you from using this from within a sky vessel, even if you can't use it on it? I'm just thinking.
Nope.
No. I found nothing that said you cannot do inside.
It's not like the chemist where you need a special gold once per game to use his ability.
So you can make Thunderers, freeze and freeze, re-rolling all hits, re-rolling.
You can make them 2s and freeze.
2, even 2,
but
then you don't need to reroll anything if you go 2s. Maybe 1s in freeing. So 2s, rerolling 1s, freeze, rerolling 1s, 2 rend, 1 damage.
Ren 3 cannons.
32 shots.
Pretty good.
Another thing you can do with the fact they didn't mention anything about the sky vessel. Something that was going with an idea I had was if you have 10 Thunderers in a frigate, because you can't put more than 10 models in a frigate, You can have an admiral sitting in an ironclad behind them, and then measure that distance from the ironclad to the frigate, and then cast it out there.
And even then have a gun holder with an engine master on foot. That is the bodyguard for the admiral. He's just towing behind with another boat.
Oh yeah, he jumps out of the boat and takes the wounds.
And it's just your ward boat. Like the gun holder takes it for the ships, and he takes it for the for the
silly, so silly.
Yeah, I mean the only thing about this is it's a once per game ability. So if you don't want to invest too much into using it, because you buff up that unit, the unit's going to be really good for one phase,
which is often all you need for KO.
This is the let's go back to Alpha Strike.
Let's get rid of that big one unit, like 4 flies. What are they called? Postcard Blight Lords on a 5-up save and 5-up ward. With what do they have? 32 wounds, the 4 of them. That's one of the hardest units to remove in the game currently. If you turn off that ward save, like it's not there. And now everyone has 2 rend, which helps a lot against 5-up saves and 4-up saves. You're just gonna blast through them like in no time.
Just like Thunderers on the ground with special weapons, right? Those cannons can be Ren 3. Those are Ren 3 cannons.
That
pretty
makes good.
Me very happy.
Well, you like Ren 3. How do you feel about Skywardens with Ren 4?
Drill cannons.
And then use Geminids again to kill their all-out defense.
Yeah.
That's some dead dragons, although they ignore the Geminids in the 4+.
Actually, that's a good point, because I wrote a list earlier. I come up with a list idea, and I was 5 points over, but if I swap more Lightning Vortex, the Geminids, it would
give
fit.
You 5 points down.
Yeah. It would fit.
So,
I had the same situation, Lee, where I just came up with the greatest list, and it was 5 points over, and it's just the worst feeling in the world.
Okay, so, but yeah, out of these 3, I think the ward save one's going to be the best one, depending on your opponent. What about you guys? What do you think? Which is your favorite?
Like
the ward save.
The Ren.
The ward save one is okay. It's situational. In situations, it'll be really good.
It will win your games. This thing will win your games.
Yeah, because it buffs your whole army as well.
Or even you can take out like 15 Hearthguard Berserkers. That's a lot. That's 380 points or something.
It'll be really good against a subset of opponents, whereas the Grudge Breaker projectiles will be good against almost everything.
Yeah, unless you're 2-up save stacking +5. Like the 1 ren's not going to change anything. That's my only concern with this update is the problems that we called out now several times was save stacking.
Yeah.
Okay, now we finally get 1 rend, not for the ships, just for the units. Okay, a bit more diversity, more units to bring. Okay, fine. But it does, like the Varanguards on a 2+ save rerolling 1s, or the Blood Knights or whoever, they don't care about that 1 rend. So against them, it's not such a big help. It is a help against people with 5-up and 4-up saves. So you have a higher percentage of shots going through. Like you can count of deleting a unit.
Yeah.
And it really helps against those armies or units with ward saves and medium to lower saves, like 5-up saves or 4-up saves. Because now you're really getting your job done.
The most annoying thing about this is that it basically just negates all-out defense. But, I mean, unless you're using Geminids to stop it, which is also another nearly 100-point investment plus the artifact. So,
But that's fine. If you negate all-out defense, that's fine because you still have 1 rend on the weapon anyway.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just, it's just...
That's fine. So everyone is saving on a 4-up or 5-up instead of a 3-up. It's a high percentage.
What I was trying to say is it doesn't solve the problem that KO faces on a regular basis. It certainly lessens it, but it doesn't solve the problem, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. It doesn't solve the problem of high saves, high armor saves, 2-up saves, 3-up saves units. It doesn't help much against those.
Yeah, the other thing is like it's once per game, so that what value is that Admiral adding to your list other than that one turn?
Quite a lot, I think, because we're seeing in the game now, you see enemy armies with 2 hammers, maybe 3. So there's just really 2 or 3 units that you need to take care of.
Double Maw Crusher list.
Yeah, the 2 Maw Crushers, and the pigs you can shoot off like that.
Double Navigator, 1 Maw Crusher, and then go after the other one.
Yeah, I don't think the Maw Crusher, like Iron Jaws, is not a problem for KO overall, because their armor saves are not that good. The average troops.
I killed the Maw Crusher on the Overwatch. That was fun.
This solves basically. This solves Nurgle, which is a pain in the ass for KO, because we couldn't get through the ward saves. You couldn't get through all the wounds they can put on the board. It does help against Fire Slayers, although KO have a very good standing against Fire Slayers because they can reach the heroes and kill them.
Yes.
With shooting already. Yes, they have those 2 heroes that are bodyguarding and warding and everything, but if you can switch off the ward now, you can even go for the Hearthguard Berserkers. And there's just 2 blocks of them in the army, and that's the entire army basically, and the rest is 6, 7, 8 support heroes. So yeah, I like it.
One other thing this does is Apex Predators, which was probably our worst mission before. We now have a hero that's like really tanky, like Gandalf.
But he needs to get there on foot, doesn't he? Still,
he can run to the middle one. He's 3+3+.
Nah, he needs to move. He needs to finish a move on an objective.
A run is a move.
Because it always screws us because there's turn 1 you fly your boat on. You're not on the objective. Turn 2 you get out of your boat. It's not a move. It's a setup.
Yeah.
You're not on the objective. Turn 3.
It's always been the places of arcane power problem. Yeah.
But the problem is you could always get into that middle one, but there was no point going on with the middle one because that was suicide. But an Admiral now with 3+3+, that's not so much suicide anymore. That's like
depends what you put around him.
He's that Brannigan.
If it's 10 Arkanauts, just kill the Arkanauts and then kill him.
Yeah.
Armies can remove that stuff.
This is the part that'll put hair on your chest.
So, and it depends on if the opponent's savvy, because there's some people at first are not going to realise they're just going to attack the Admiral and be stupid. But
I mean, let's always
assume they're a
your
good
opponent
player,
knows what he's doing.
One other thing as well before we move on is someone in the chat asked about 20 Arkanauts and the +1 rend. Now, I've been doing some maths. Yeah. And if you're putting lots of buffs on, like Flare Pistol, reroll 1s to wound from a chemist, +1 to hit, using your gold, then you will do more damage with 20 Arkanauts than you will with 10 Thunderers or with 9 Wardens.
But 9-inch.
So, Arkanaut math is really interesting because they are actually, even without buffs, do the most wounds per point out of our entire army. The most efficient wounding unit is Arkanauts.
Yeah.
The problem is getting them in range.
Yeah.
That's the main issue.
I mean, it's a real shame you can't get 30 into range really easily.
The only thing you could do is Mornar run and shoot.
Yeah.
With a Zilfin move.
That's 19-inch, which on most battle plans, that's the distance between the 2 armies.
Put 20 Arkanauts and an Admiral inside an Ironclad in Zilfin.
Yeah.
Teleport it forward in the movement phase, then shuffle the Ironclad forward, however much. Then pistol something off, and you've got like...
just deploy them in front of the ship onto an objective, so get +1 to hit.
Yeah, but then that means you can put all-out attack on the Ironclad.
Then you can't move the ship anymore. Did you see that? That ruling Worlds did it now. They're like, you can't move the ship after you put the...
to be fair, most people did it before.
Right, I think that's a good time to move on because You're talking about rulings, and there's some things we might need some rulings on in a minute.
Yeah, Lee's been paranoid about a rule for like 2 days now. He can't sleep.
I can sleep, it's fine. I can't sleep now, obviously. I snore a lot and you won't want to hear that. But we've got grand strategies and battle tactics as well. It's not all about the Admiral, but it is all about the Admiral. But it's not. So we've got a grand strategy, which is you complete it if no units in your army have unspent gold shares.
Which is a weird wording that I found.
Yeah. And you have spent at least 1 share of Aether gold in every battle round. And this sounds really easy at first, but it's not as easy as you think.
No.
And equally, I want to clarify, because there's been other translations going around, like some people miss this thing about that you have to spend 1 every round.
Spending 1 every round, I feel, is the easier one. But but having no gold left is actually kind of hard.
Yeah.
So the question is, what happens to units that die before spending the gold?
But they're not on the, because it's only looking at.
No, it just says your army. They're still part of your army, are they? Or are they not your army anymore if they're slain?
Surely it doesn't count if they're dead and they haven't spent their gold.
So that's one issue, and the main issue is if your opponent knows this, like he knows, okay, you have last round, you have these 2 units left with gold, and you need to spend their gold. He's just gonna kill them.
This is the thing is, it's a tightrope because you need to get into round 5. Ideally,
with gold,
with 1 share of Aether gold or 2 shares of Aether gold, there's no point going in with 4 shares of Aether gold because you won't spend it.
Actually,
like you need to have a very small amount of Aether gold towards the end of the battle.
Yeah, you need to constantly spend gold, and you need to keep stuff available to spend gold on.
Mm-hmm.
Like yes, you can do. You can always do the chemist reroll ones to wound, because that's independent of the ship shooting or not. But if it's like battle shock immunity, if you don't have a roll for a battle shock, you can't use that gold.
Yeah,
and then you're screwed. Like if your opponent just leaves you alone last round, you can't spend the gold. Then yeah, congratulations, you failed your strategy.
Well, so one thing I've looked is you can use inspired in the shooting phase, regardless of whether anything's in range. There's nothing to stop that. Well, there's nothing to stop you.
Because don't you add 1 to attacks before, like when you make the attack, and to make an attack you need to choose a target.
Because you have to choose your gold when you select the unit to attack, and then after you select the unit to attack, you then choose targets. So then you go, I'm going to select my unit to attack,
that sounds
and then
dodgy.
Yeah, it's dodgy.
I believe attacking means these 2 I'm going to shoot at them.
Like, yeah. Expect TOs to rule against that. You definitely can't use inspired in the combat phase if there's no enemy units around, because you don't even get to activate unless you're within 3 inches. You can't use the charge one, and because that's done after the roll, and you can't get to roll unless there's anything within 12 inches.
I mean, you can always roll for it and then just go, I'm not going to charge.
No, you can't. If there's no if you tabled your opponent, you can't attempt to charge. So this is the thing: is to do this. Once you get to round 5, if you've tabled your opponent and you've got gold left, you can't get this grand strategy.
Yeah,
depending how what you've got left. Because if you've got your chemist left, then he can buff himself. And this is the trouble. Like if you take lots of admirals, what do they spend their gold on?
Tabling your opponent though.
Mm-hmm.
What this can do, which I don't think any other grand strategy can do, is you get it if you get tabled. So you'll lose less hard if you have nothing left in the army.
Depends when you're tabled. If you're tabled round 4, you won't get your grand strategy because you won't spend any gold in round 5.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't. So you have to get tabled if you get tabled in turn 5, you'll get your grand strategy.
Yeah, as long as you remember to spend your gold just slightly before you're tabled.
Yeah, okay.
So no, there's better strategies than this.
Yeah, so I think
you just hold the line.
This looks really good.
Predator's domain.
Yeah.
Fly around, tag terrain pieces.
Yeah.
It's such a good one.
Looks really good, and it's not as easy as it sounds.
No, it's very thematic and narrative with gold, but it's for competitive play. I wouldn't recommend it.
And it's really, you've got to build your list around it, because you start taking gun haulers and admirals and things. Like, when does a gun hauler spend its gold?
Hope you didn't take back Urbaz, because you're never going to spend all that gold.
No. So it's a bit of an issue, because being limited to spend, using one per phase as well. Unless they get rid of that, that'd be great. But anyway, let's move on to battle tactics. So we've got 3 of these bad boys.
Yes.
1 rubbish one, and 2 that are interesting.
The rubbish one.
The bombing attacks.
No, actually, the other one is more rubbish.
No, the bombing attacks one is
situationally
good. Yeah.
Anytime you find yourself against a unit with 1 wound models, you take bombing attack and just
like you're left in combat. Like after the last round, there's like 2 dudes still tagging your ironclad. Okay, 2 up.
Oh,
but
does it say unit destroyed? Oh, the way I get it was model destroyed.
No, you need to kill an enemy unit with bomb racks.
Necron, just to be 100% sure, but where is that page here?
Imagine you fail the charge if you're not in combat. You see there's a unit.
Pick 1 enemy unit.
Yeah, pick a unit, but then what?
You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed during the turn by the bomb rack ability of a friendly model.
So, I mean, it's doable.
It's doable, but it's very...
I think there's an element of risk to it as well, because let's say there's a battle line unit with 1 or 2 models left.
You can always run one.
Yeah, you could pick, kill a battle line unit and just throw some shots into them, which is very easy to do. Or you could be like, oh, I'm going to do this one and save the killer battle line unit for later in the game, and then you fail your charge. Or... It's
like if there's a hero with a wound left somewhere next to a boat, you might do this if you have nothing else left. But
it's nice to have, and it's very situational. Like, things might come up, but I would not be planning.
It's an extra option, which is always good, but it's not a guaranteed one. Which you're always opting for the guaranteed ones.
And you're gonna roll that 2, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh, god damn it!" Or you're gonna roll that 1. I mean, and you're gonna be like,
or you're gonna do 1 more wound instead of the 2 you needed. Yeah.
And then the other 2 are all about getting in and out of the boats, which is frustrating because of all of the issues with FAQ.
Yeah,
we need FAQs on this.
The rulings on this. Can I pick units that are already in a boat?
You both spoke at the same time then. So the first one, you can't do it in the first battle round. Just says you can't. And you choose 3 friendly units that are on the battlefield, and you complete this battle tactic if all of those units are garrisoned in sky vessels at the end of the turn. And from what I understand, it doesn't matter. They don't have to be in the same sky vessel.
No.
So that's that one. That's relatively easy to do. Like,
depends.
It would be better if you could do it in the first battle round.
That would be much easier.
Yeah.
It depends because is a unit inside a garrison considered on the battlefield?
Yes.
From the whole discussions today and how this is intended, because obviously the intent here is get into the boat. I'd say no. This raises the question, well, is then a general inside the ship on the battlefield, and if not, does he get his CP? Yes, he does, because there is a side note in the rules that says if you're inside a garrison, you can still benefit from you can still use all the abilities and issue commands and blah blah blah.
You can do everything and move.
You can do anything, which I think includes receiving command points. However, you're not there, like physically. Others argue, well, you're inside the garrison, and the garrison is on the battlefield. You're on the battlefield by logic.
And the rule for garrison says it's assumed that the units are inside.
Yeah.
Yes, but
if
it
that's
also
the case,
says,
this is just a guaranteed battle tactic, which is super good.
which is a bit weird.
Which is just dumb.
But the side notes also says you can do everything as if you were on the battlefield, which means you're not.
Yeah.
Because why say if you were if you're not?
There is another interpretation.
I tend towards no, they're not on the battlefield, but I'll skip to you.
There's a third interpretation is that the player receives command points, not the unit, so they're not doing anything, and the player receives the command points if the unit is on the battlefield, and then therefore the unit's not doing anything. That side note says the unit can do stuff, but it's still not filling the criteria of being on the battlefield. So it's like
it's a very weird one. Yeah. I'd say ask your TO before.
Yeah. The upshot of this is by getting these battle tactics, potentially it's created a situation where you could lose up to 10 CP per game that you were getting.
Yeah. That's keeping Lee awake at night now.
Yeah. But the good news is if TO start ruling that, it's going to be bad for Seraphon as well.
Yeah, but they get command points out of their ass. Yeah. Sorry. They can roll like 5 dice and they each 2+ is a command point.
And anyone else with garrisons. Let's talk about the other one, which is very similar. You choose 3 friendly units that are garrisoned in sky vessels at the time you choose them, and you complete the battle tactic if all those units are on the battlefield at the end of the turn and are wholly within enemy territory. Now, notice when you choose them, they don't have to be outside of enemy territory.
Yes, but again, if we say garrison units are on the battlefield,
yes,
it's just a Savage Spearhead with free ships.
Ground forces doesn't need to be ground forces. They can just keep sitting in the boat and go, hey, we're in enemy territory now.
If we say on the battlefield is also in the garrison, which
I tend to... It's just Savage Spearhead with extra steps.
Yeah, that's what I meant. And it's a great one because...
What you do is Savage Spearhead the turn before, then the next turn, you get out, and then you've done it. You just stay where you are.
You don't even need to get out.
Well, potentially, honestly, depending on how
your TO rules it. It is the best one because it involves no interaction with your opponent. It involves no dice roll, nothing. You pick your models, you fly high over there. Savage Spearhead, next turn, they get out of the boat.
And you
done. It's a guaranteed 2 points.
Because you want to be getting your models out of the boat?
It depends.
To get onto objectives.
I don't want to get my heroes out of the boat.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is you want to get bodies onto the board to score objectives, whereas getting into the ship, the mobilize the fleet, getting into the ship is not is removing bodies on the table. So
the safe play here is turn 1, Savage Spearhead. Pick your 3 boats, or 2 boats with 3, or 1 boat with 3 units inside. Put them over there because they are in the territory. So even units inside the boat count for Savage Spearhead. Turn 2, ground forces. They all get out.
Yeah.
Turn 3, mobilize the fleet. Everyone gets back
in. And then somewhere in there you do
points. You don't have to do anything. It's just guaranteed points. You just get in and out.
It's like that game. It's like that game when you're
You don't need to kill anything. You don't need to slay anything. A monster with a monster. Nothing.
Maybe this is going to be lost on the greater UK, Euro, Australian audience, but there's a game when you're road tripping with a group of people in the car where you come to a red light. Everybody gets out of the car and then runs to a different position in the car and then gets back in.
It's just going to be that.
It basically is that. It's also the ferocious advance. I call run in a circle. When you pick your 3 units that just run next to each other.
You could do
you
that.
Can do that. You can do that. Then
that with this.
After they go out, run in a circle, get back in different boats as Matt suggested.
Oh, you know what you could do? You could do it with a gun hawk with collapsible compartments, and then have 3 chemists, and they just don't do anything all game except for be out of the way
and an Enver
and running around.
An Enver master that keep the boat alive, and 2 navigators because 36 inches for their ability. Who cares where they are? And it's just a gun horror that, honestly, it's not about play. This is just guaranteeing you 4 battle tactics out of 5.
With
no enemy interaction, with no dice rolls.
Don't have to take an objective. Don't have to
Exactly. There's nothing
kill
that can
anything.
fail unless you drop your model. You know, it's.
Or your opponent knows what they're doing. They try and kill those units or whatever. But...
Yeah, but then they're running behind them and they're not focusing on the rest of the army. I love it. That's going to go into my list.
What you said brings up kind of my main issue with these battle tactics, although I feel like I'm picking on the weakling here because KO is not the problem when it comes to this. But a general issue I have with faction-specific battle tactics and grand strategies is just that it's further diluting the meaningfulness of battle tactics, especially with things like ground forces, which is essentially by default you get all 5 battle tactics, and if you didn't, well, that's the downside. But as opposed to it should be the opposite. It should be like, how many battle tactics were you able to achieve, not how many battle tactics did you blunder.
Yeah, or how many did your opponent manage to deny?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, it's an unfortunate circumstance of getting faction specific ones. KO is not the problem here in this grand scheme of things. And I know the Fire Slayers ones there's a couple that they're pretty good.
But they all involve killing stuff.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I know the Nurgle ones are very, very build dependent. So there's 1 or 2 that you're going to be able to use, but it's just like when you have these super easy, like you got to have 3 units in a garrison. Like that's not hard to do. Ground forces, we're talking about a traffic fire drill here and getting in and getting, it's silly. It's silly. And it just kind of dilutes the meaningfulness of battle tactics when determining the outcome of the game. And that's just a fundamental issue that I have, but not against KO.
I'd like to add that with battle tactics now, it's because we say it's important to deny your opponent ones. With each month, we get more and more.
Yeah, you don't know what they've got.
You don't even know what your opponent can do. Yeah. Like I can say, I'm gonna use this one from the White Dwarf for Cities of Sigma. I need 2 units with a banner next to an objective. Like, okay, I didn't know that existed, but okay.
Hey Max, I'm gonna use Glory to the Grandfather. You're like, okay.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, guess what? I automatically get it, so cool.
Yeah, it's
the fact that they're not interactive as well. Like, I don't like some of the core ones, especially for KO, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna do kill a monster. Okay, oh right, well I'm gonna do best day ever and all out defense on that when you try and shoot it. Then and they're interactive, but they're kind of interactive in a stupid way, like a not very fun way. It's just like, yeah, you can do it, and then I can easily counter it type thing.
Yeah, and the problem KO obviously have, at least in this GHB with the monster bonuses, is everyone gets extra points for doing stuff with monsters.
Yeah.
We don't have monsters in the army. Like, yes, we can ally into Stormguard.
SpongeBob Bean, but you're not giving away extra points.
Yeah.
It's not the way that you win games.
Yeah, but monsters gain more points than they give away.
Yeah, no, it's not the way that you
unless
win
they're Mega Guardians now. Then they just give away points.
Mega Guardians.
You don't win games in 3rd edition by not giving away points. You win games in 3rd edition by going after those extra bonus points. A Sylvaneth friend of mine had a 10-point turn the other day because he killed a unit of did bring it down, killed a unit of dragons with a Durthu, and got the extra bonus point for killing a reinforced unit of dragons, but with Sylvaneth. So he got 10. It was like a 7-point battle tactic.
Yeah, I had the same. I just shot like a reinforced unit of long strikes with normal crossbowmen.
Yeah,
like that's an extra 2 points, and then I did this, and I'm battle tactic and command. I had like a 10-point round. It was like, it's awesome.
Getting to the point where the objectives don't matter as well.
They matter much less now.
Yeah,
exactly.
You can play entire games with a Prime Hunter army. Don't care about objectives. Yeah. Just go after the enemy units.
Finally, not scoring from within boats is totally okay, right?
Yeah. I mean, KO needed
KO are not the
battle
Prime Hunter yet.
tactics.
We need Prime Hunter, but
so this is really good for KO to have battle tactics that you can quite easily do, depending on how TOs rule them. That these are either ridiculously stupidly good or just very good instead. And
Okay,
maybe there's
just
a
a
bad,
quick heads
and
up,
or
my-
it's
my
very,
battery is
very
low.
bad if the TO rules that you don't get your CP. Let's move on then, because it's getting late as well.
Yeah, Lee, just a heads up. I don't know how much longer I have on the.
We've got the
battery.
battalions, which we're just going to say are rubbish. So, we've got Escort 1 back. Wait, I got the title wrong. Just ignore that. Just ignore that. I've just written them the completely opposite way around. Anyway, we got Iron Sky Attack Squadron back.
It's
Which is 2 to 3
useless.
frigates, 2 to 3 units of Arkanauts. You get 2 abilities. You get the ability where you can use all out attack, all out defense without a CP being issued or being spent. But you still can't use it more than once per phase. So it's not that helpful. And you also get the one where you can run 6 or reroll a charge.
Yeah, it's
And again,
no useless.
So rubbish. And then we got this one is Grunstock X-Wing, but it says I've just written the wrong way around. So 2 to 3 gun haulers, 1 unit of thunderers, 0 to 3 sky wardens, 0 to 1 frigate, 0 to 1 ironclad, and you get the one where you can do all out attack or unleash hell without issuing a command or without spending a CP, but you still can't do it more than once per phase.
No, it's just too many drops. Like, give me one with low drops or more boats, but no.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to go low drops or you go high drops for a good reason, and this is not a good reason.
No, and you can already get these with the core battalions. These bonuses. It's just bonuses without using heroes.
Like extra artifact or something, because then you could combine that with the hero battalion.
Yeah, then you wouldn't have to take 6 heroes. You could do a command entourage and something that it doesn't require loads of heroes.
Newsflash, you are taking 6 heroes now.
Yeah, maybe.
You just became fire slayers.
6 admirals.
This army just became fire slayers.
It's
6 small heroes.
Where they don't do anything, and then turn 1, they help you get rend or something, and then the rest of the game they just run around doing savage
in and out of boats.
stuff.
In and out of boats, yeah.
Yeah. That's what the Admiral does after he's used his once per game thing. He just runs around. That's it. You have 3 Admirals inside a gun hauler. First turn, they give rend to 3 different units, and then the rest of the game, they do your battle tactics. Perfect. Solved.
The Chadmiral.
Yeah.
He's so good now.
The battalions are bad. The Admiral is good.
The
battle tactics are good, and the grand strategy is meh.
Battle tactics are okay. Strategies, meh.
The grand strategy.
One issue I have.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
So the grand strategy is actually interesting because if you're playing in a tournament game, and unless you go really quickly, it's impossible to achieve. If you only get to round 4, round 3, you don't score it.
Potentially,
you would talk through it and say, "I'm going to spend it."
Or the TO might just say, "If you've used it for every round that's been played."
I mean, it's the only faction where you need to go to your TO with a half a dozen questions on how they're going to rule, and then kind of get that answer. And if I know,
we already had that situation, so we just added more questions.
If I know anything about my local TO, who was on the Vince's Warhammer Weekly show last night, and how he likes to troll Kyle, I know exactly the way he's going to rule on that.
So he's going to rule that you don't get your CP at the start of the turn. Probably.
One thing I wanted to say is with these photographs we had, almost all White Dwarf updates now had a battle trait, like one line on the first page. Like in this chapter, we will find match play rules, open play, narrative play, path to glory, blah blah blah, battle trait for the army, because that's important for all those sections. It's like one line. I don't know. Korn has one. I can't remember what the other ones were. And that page is missing from the pictures. So there might be a battle trait somewhere there.
Possibly. Apparently, the person that originally leaked these photos was asked this on Facebook, and he said that there wasn't another page.
There wasn't. Okay.
So whether he was just trolling us or not, and it's just some amazingly good thing, I don't know. But yeah.
It's down to two, Lee. Just me and you.
Yeah, they've. I don't know what's going on. Connection issues, maybe. The other thing is that they can fit 2 war scrolls in an A4 page, and the picture we've seen only has half the page showing the animal. So potentially, there's a second war scroll. I think it's more likely that war scroll is actually not for KO. It's just like for a different game system or something. But who knows?
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe Brock Grunson. You never know. So yeah. And to answer the question from the chat, yeah, squats look cool. I hate 40k and I don't want to play 2 game system, but I might have to. And I think everyone else has just lost battery. So
I don't know if you can still hear me, but I'm having some strange. I can hear you and everything's fine, but my cam is frozen. So
yeah, your camera's frozen, but I can hear you. So yeah, any final thoughts, Matt?
My final thoughts are that everybody was asking the question before this came out: is this going to be closer to Beast of Chaos, or is it going to be closer to Khorne? I think overall, this is not nearly as close to Beast of Chaos as I was hoping for in terms of a reversal on the trend of KO's competitive viability. I look at the game mostly through a competitive lens, how they can compete at top tables and at tournaments. And while I don't think it's nearly as useless as the Khorne update, it is not even close to the boost that the White Dwarf update gave to the Beast of Chaos. And so it did nothing, unfortunately, to address the way in which the army is disjointed with the basic mechanics of garrisons, essentially. And that for me was a big letdown, that they didn't take this opportunity to clarify it, add some sort of caveat or a rule or something to make it so that the army functions the way it feels like it's intended to, getting in and out of the transport. So that was a big letdown to me. I love the new projectiles. I think it adds a lot of fun flavor to the army, and certainly some usefulness in your being able to dictate the game, or dictate the tools you have when you're playing an opponent. I generally don't like the strategies and the battle tactics for individual factions, but again, that's not a KO problem. So overall, it's good. It's a positive. It's not nearly as positive as I was hoping for, but I'm glad that there's a little bit of a fresh air being, fresh winds being blown in our direction.
Overall, it's good for KO, but it's a little bit disappointing. Like, we went into this having, he's gone as well. I'm just talking to everyone else now. We went into this basically having lots of questions that were unanswered about how things work for KO, and now we have more questions rather than having questions answered, which is a little bit annoying. It looks like Matt is potentially back. I'm not sure.
I was here.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard any of that or not. But,
I did. I was listening.
Overall, I'm positive. There's a slight sort of element of disappointment, but I like it. And I also just had a thought when you were talking about the projectiles, like, you could have like 3 different colored dice that you used, and then because you've got a roller or 2+, you could have your, like, these are my 3 different ammunitions. That could be quite fun.
And what you can do is pre-order Aethercast dice in various colors, and that way you'll be able to mark them appropriately for your games. Yeah,
that'd be cool. So if you want to get some Aethercast dice, links in the description. If you like the show, please hit like. If you want more Kharadron Overlords and Dwarf content and Age of Sigmar content in the future, subscribe so you don't miss any shows. Thank you to Kron and Matt and Max and little baby Beardling for joining us on tonight's show, and thank you to everyone that watched. Sorry it's been a little bit of a weird, hectic show with stuff, but we wanted to get a show out quickly and talk about this stuff straight away because we're excited.
You mean like me taking a work call in the middle of the show, or?
I didn't. Is that what you were doing? I didn't know.
I'm on my lunch break now, but I was just taking a quick work call.
Yeah, but just technical difficulties. Con, you are back just in time to say goodbye to everyone.
Final thoughts, Kron?
Oh yeah, and if you want final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
The last word.
Yeah, love the Admiral. I mean, so I've made a kind of like a theoretical list around it, which might work. It's like a Zilfin 1-drop, I think.
Tasty.
So going to because this all Admiral is like, it's all about this one turn. So I think it really incentivizes that Alpha Strike ability that he has, that the army has. So building heavily into that with Zilfin, 2 units of Thunderers, 2 frigates, an Ironclad, 2 Admirals, and just shoving everything into the opponent's face turn 1. And
so it's the new Kron drop.
It's you know what my lists are like.
Yeah. Kron's list doesn't have 2 units of Thunderers for 20 Thunderers and just try and shoot everything off the table. What it's not a Kron list.
Deploy and delete version 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I guess Kron, you have to tell us how that goes once you've played that list. But
I'm gonna go play it in about 2 hours.
Nice.
I think. Test it out.
Yeah, but other than that, thanks for watching, everyone, and thank you, Kron, Matt, Max, and the Beardling. Goodbye, everyone. See you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye,
See ya.
everybody.